If you're in Seattle, and you need to buy or sell a home, we'll be right there for you. Because we're the realtors that you can trust. So go to ronanddonsitdown.com.
You're listening to The Ron and Don Show on the Ron and Don Radio Network.
Hey, you guys, what's going on? And welcome to another edition of The Ron and Don Show. And we are back in the Team Lisa.
With a Y.
Team Lisa with a Y.com studios. For all your mortgage needs, just go to Team Lisa
with a Y.
With a Y.com.
What is up, Ron and Don Nation?
Hey, let's do this. Let's get the top 5 at 5.
Ron and Don's top 5 at 5.
5, 3, 2, 1.
All right, Lindsey Graham no longer with us. We don't talk a lot of politics on this show, but I do think he's an important figure because I think he had the ability, if you go back and you think about 2016, in 2016, he would not vote for Trump. He would not vote for anyone on the Republican or on the Democrat ticket. So he said, we don't know whose name he filled in. He probably filled in his own name. I've done that before. I'm sure you have as well, especially when it comes to being a mayor around here. I'll just cross them all off and fill in my name. So that's maybe what he did. And then he came out and just pulverized Trump. And what was really interesting is even when you fast forward and you look at what happened on January 6th a number of years ago, it was Lindsey Graham who came out and said after that, no more. And I'm going to push away from this guy. I'm pushing away from this MAGA movement. No more. 6 weeks later, he's down at Mar-a-Lago making up with our current president. What is your take on Lindsey Graham? Of course, he just died of cardiac arrest at the age of 71. I think sometimes, flying around, not eating well, probably not sleeping well. I know this happened to our friend Doria Cairo. When you're not sleeping well and you kind of get to that age, and Doria got 60, it can do a real number on your mental health, but also your cardiovascular health. So,
well, first off, I did a double and triple check to make sure it didn't say Mitch McConnell in the headlines. I was like,
you're right.
What do you mean? Isn't this a Mitch McConnell headline? Because of all the AI stuff about him, proof of life and disappearing, etc. But then once we got to Lindsey Graham to me is emblematic of exactly the type of person I never want to be on a couple different metrics. Number one, and I think this is not to be salacious, there's a lot of evidence and reporting that most likely he was a gay man, heavily closeted his whole life, and not living true to who he really was. So that, to me, before we even get to the politics, I have a great deal of sorrow and sympathy for everybody that has to live that way. I think back to you and I were on the radio in Phoenix when Ricky Martin was rising to fame, and it was a not very well-kept secret that he was gay, but he couldn't be gay at that time because the music industry wouldn't allow it, and he had come up through this boy band fame in Latin America where he was a heartthrob to millions of young girls and then women. And so he lived this super closeted life, and then he came out, and even though he never had the success again that he had with La Vida Loca era, to me, I was really happy for him. I was like, that is great that you can just be who you are in this world, regardless of whether or not the industry is going to support you. So I believe that Lindsey Graham was a homosexual man that never allowed himself to live with any sort of happiness or freedom on the personal front. And so that makes me really sad. I think it does inform the next part that to me is incredibly distasteful. He became whatever he needed to become to retain power. So his life was about power brokerage and / making sure that he was always on the right side of every angle he was shooting. And so to do that, he became a sycophant. And if you go back and you look at the things that he said about Joe Biden in 2016, calling him the finest man he'd ever met, and you go back and you look at the things that he said about Donald Trump, that all turned out to be true about Donald Trump, then to become what some people call a bootlicker, to become a sycophant, to become a yes man, to totally embrace everything MAGA, just to transparently retain power and retain money and retain influence. To me, that's among the most despicable things you can do. I would rather see someone, even if you're a Republican, say, I'm an openly gay man, I'm a conservative, this is what I believe in, and if that makes me unelectable, so be it. I have enough. He has a law degree, he's a smart guy, he has enough contacts in Washington and around the world. He could go have a very lucrative, and powerful life outside of politics. I would rather see someone be true to some kind of moral code and be true to who you really are as a person than to constantly smarm your way into who do I need to be today to who's in power.
Don't you think he got stuck, though? Because a lot of people don't know he was in the military. I think he was a JAG officer or former of a JAG officer in the military. And he served.
And he was in the reserves for over 30 years.
Yeah, served for 30 years. And sometimes that just happens to you when you're in the military, where you don't ask, don't tell. 30 years ago, right? You're talking about Ricky Martin. That would have been the year 2000. I remember you and I introducing him at a concert, and it was just filled with his fan base, which were young girls and their moms, and they loved him.
Yeah.
I think they would have loved him if he came out and jumped out of the car like he did at the concert, even if he was gay at that point. But he didn't believe that. He had to believe that, right? And I would imagine looking at Lindsey Graham and some of the pressures that he felt going into the military, maybe it was a don't ask, don't tell.
Yeah, but then once he becomes a person of power, don't you have an obligation to make things better for all the other Lindsey Grahams that are in the military?
Which he did not do.
Right.
That's the point. He did not do that. And in fact,
I don't think he was a man of honor.
He stood up against the gay community when it came to legislation and policy.
He pushed back against Trump when Trump took a dump on John McCain, because him and John McCain were BFFs politically, and I think personally they were fond of each other, and then immediately kind of recanted and went back to Donald Trump, like on bended knee, like that sort of thing. He has no loyalties other than to power, and I find that to be disgusting. I don't like people, jumping up and down on someone's grave per se, but he was not an honorable man in my estimation. I don't think he was an authentic man. I think he was a power broker and power monger, and on balance did more harm than good to America.
Ron and Don's Top 5 Bet 5.
Number 2.
All right, Seattle Seahawks have a new ownership group. What is your take on the Seahawks? We talked about this before. People were thinking they'll sell for around $8 million. I thought it would be double digits, and I guess 10. I was a little short on 10. I was surprised, though. Maybe we'll find out that a guy like Steve Ballmer jumped into this. I thought we would have had more Seattle familiar names that would jump into an ownership group, and to find out that this ownership group already owns a little piece of San Francisco.
3%.
That the Sun is, and I appreciate the Sun wanting to go down there and be a scout and learn the game. Because when you learn the game, you learn how difficult the game can be. Any fears about this becoming a Jerry Jones situation where the owner comes in and knows more than everybody else and breaks what's not broken?
I don't think it's a Jerry Jones situation, because Jerry Jones was way more involved in football than, I don't know this guy's name off the top of my head, from Sun Microsystems founder and multi-billionaire. So Jerry Jones, I think, is a unique case. Him and Al Davis were kind of unique cases in the NFL.
Yeah, he went to a national championship in college.
And I hear people freaking out about the San Francisco 49er connection, and that's much to do about nothing.
What are they freaking out? I haven't heard that. What are they freaking out?
Oh my gosh, you're selling the team to the enemy. And so the way that NFL owners work in the vetting process is they would prefer to sell a team to someone that's already in ownership, because even at a 3% stake in the San Francisco 49ers, you have to go through a vetting process. You get to meet all the other owners. You get to go to the owner meetings. And so he was a known quantity among the owners. And so there is a big push in professional sports to bring billionaires into the fray. The other owners want that. They want billionaires overrepresented in there. And so I think we're just going to have to wait and see. It would be incredible to me. He doesn't have the pedigree of the Supersonics that you called out on day one with Clay Bennett, like bold-faced wanting to move to Oklahoma, like that, there's not that overlay in this deal. And so I think there's a very low probability that there's a movement anywhere, especially with 2 Super Bowls in the last X number of years in Seattle, and the defending Super Bowl champions, which probably added $1 billion or more to that retail price because you're the defending Super Bowl champ. The other thing, and I haven't heard a ton of people talk about this, what the Paul Allen charitable arm agenda would be for almost $10 billion. So if you think about, I live very close to the Paul Allen Brain Institute that has an incredible building, and they do amazing work on brain research. So when you talk about everything from Alzheimer's to debilitating diseases to CTE and plaque in your brain and dementia and like all these cognitive things that happen, there is world-class cutting-edge things happening on the shores of Lake Union. And if we were to take a couple more $1 billion, we meaning the Paul Allen Foundation, and throw it at brain research, what a cool legacy. And I haven't heard anyone talk about this. What a cool legacy if you had a Super Bowl winning NFL franchise that was sold on the wishes of an owner that passed away, that then leveraged that money into the potential to save tens of millions of people suffering from these debilitating diseases at the end of life. Like, how cool is that story? I don't know if that's the arc of it, but it seems plausible that you could take that money, and if we could get remedies and treatments for dementia and Alzheimer's and CTE and cognitive decline across the world, like, what a cool legacy. There's not another legacy like it in professional sports.
That's a really good point, Ron. And I sort of made your point. I was talking to one of our clients earlier, and we stopped talking about real estate, and we were just talking about the Seahawks and the ownership group the whole time on the way over here. And she said, "Do you think they're going to come in and just turn things upside down?" I said, "No and yes." Typically, when you spend, because they have to be $3 billion liquid on their end, right? And you're buying it for 10, so we'll see where the other money comes from, because they're worth 13, I think, in total. So there'll be some other owners as well. It'll be interesting to see if they go out and get some old Seahawks to reconnect with the franchise and make them part of the ownership group, because there's a lot of guys out there like Richard Sherman that would love to be a part of that, right? Or Cam Chancellor, who's a great business person. He'd love to be a part of that.
This is when we saw the Denver Broncos bring in Condoleezza Rice.
Yep.
She's not a billionaire, but having a black female that loves the game as part of your ownership group when you're representing the Walmart crew was a smart move.
And it's interesting because they made the wife the principal, and then you have the son that they say is going to be involved. He's 31. He's been involved in the Niner organization down there, basically as an intern. So we'll see what his part is here. They're going to go sideways with the community, and this is going to happen at some point. And I hate to burst everyone's 12th man bubble, but we are not the loudest audience. We are the smallest stadium. We're becoming one of the oldest stadiums. And you saw this with the Seattle Supersonics. The Seattle Supersonics in Key Arena had been rebuilt just 8 years when they already said, this place isn't good enough anymore. We're closing in on 30 years with this particular stadium.
Is it really 30 years?
It's closing in on 30.
Wow.
And the thing is, when you walk in that stadium, it still seems brand new because they've taken such good care of that stadium.
Great on the World Cup.
The owner is not going to like how small it is, and the owners are not going to like it's all about luxury boxes for them, because in the NFL, they have to share the TV money. They have to share the jersey money. What you don't have to share is the ticket sales, right?
And garlic fry money.
The garlic fry money. And what we don't know is, like, when Kenny Chesney comes to town, does his family get a part of that? Do they get a part of the garlic fries also, in the parking?
Would they get a
and
part
the
of the
ticket
World
sales?
Cup?
Yeah, did they get a part of that? And we don't know that, and may never know. But at some point, an owner's going to come in and start pushing around and saying, hey, we need a new deal. We need a new stadium. It'd be one thing to go in there and kind of overhaul it. but it seems like they've kind of done that. Like it's kind of overhauled.
But
And a lot of times what you try to do in these bigger stadiums is you overtake some of the seats and you snap in some luxury boxes. It is such a small stadium, and they had to do it because they didn't want to move the grid of the streets around down there because it had already been figured out for baseball. And so they were kind of stuck with this smaller stadium that nobody's talking about. And hey, everyone in the NFL now, they like it big. And think about this. When you go to Jerry Jones' place and he wanted a bigger stadium, over 100,000 people, he has that. How come that stadium doesn't sound like Seahawks Stadium? And it's all about the way that the stadium is built. Next time you're on 520, look at those overhangs. Look at the way the stadium that the Huskies play in. It's just another version. Paul Allen grew up with his dad and holding his hand, watching the Huskies play. And we made this point before. It's just another version of that stadium. But it's the stadium that makes it so loud when there's soccer in there, or when there's when the Bananas come to play banana ball, it'll be just as loud.
But there is a possibility that this is an ego play for this owner. That it's one of the only things these billionaires fight over, because there's a limited number. Any billionaire can build a bigger yacht. Mark Zuckerberg can go out and go, oh, Ellison's yacht is 300 feet. I'm going to be 320 feet. And Steve Jobs' yacht had a helipad. I'm going to have 2 helipads. And Ellison bought a Hawaiian island. So like, this is one of those things that has prestige. It has scarcity. And so if you are in the billionaires clubs, some of it for some of these guys, it's just about ego, and they may not push on the stadium as much because they're now in the club. They're one of the 32. And for this family, that might be enough. Maybe not, but we don't know yet.
Ron and Don's Top 5 Bet 5.
Number 3.
All right, number 3, since we're talking sports, let's talk World Cup. And is there a team right now that's in the final that you're rooting for the whole time? And do you have your kit ready to go for the championship?
As we speak, they're about to kick off the Argentina match in the quarterfinals. Argentina against England. It's been... The Spain game was spectacular. So Spain v. France, as you're hearing this, we already know who the World Cup champion is, but Don and I don't know us because we're not in the future. Us knows, but we don't know right now. And so that Spain-France game was interesting in a couple of ways. One, because my life partner's from Spain, and so her entire family was at watch parties, and they were really into that Spain game. And number 2, France was the leader, considered the favorite this entire tournament. And when you watch them play in the round robin round and the knockout round, they looked unstoppable. And so for Spain to go in there and score 2 goals, and Lamine Yamal, who's a teenager, had a goal taken back because he was barely offsides.
By an elbow.
It's pretty incredible to watch. So I'm rooting for Spain, but it is hard to not be a fan of Lionel Messi because he's that rare guy that is probably the GOAT, the greatest player of all time in football.
He's the Tom Brady of soccer, yeah.
I think he's beyond Tom Brady because of just what it means worldwide. That last game, a match they had 2.4 billion viewers in it. And so I don't know if you can't check out online, there's an interview with Ibrahimovic and Tom Brady talking to each other, and that's pretty cool because they're both sort of on that elite level. But I think it's been fun for me to learn a little more of the nuance of the game and to watch people freak out over the video replay assist and be a fan of other sports and going, well, why don't they have coaches challenge and just stuff that floats through my head, and finally understanding a little bit of the strategy more. I don't know if it's going to turn me into a Premier League guy, but I did go to a match last time I was in Spain, or 2 times ago in Spain. I went to a Barcelona-Porto match in the European Cup. And so, it's fun. The atmosphere is fun. It's a different style of fan base than we have here in the States, just because of how enthusiastic they are, and they do things that we don't do here. You'll have 4 guys bring trombones to the game, and they're playing trombones, and each player has his own song. I wish we did the song thing for people. If we had a Marshawn Lynch song,
you might be
the whole crowd would sing the song.
I don't know
together.
if you like it though, because when you go to a Sounder game, it's the song, and I don't think we can play it. It's the Bobby Sherman song. For
the players or for the squad?
The Seattle song, they play that all the time at the Sounders
No,
game.
I'm not talking about playing it.
The Bluest Skies.
The fans in Europe break into song. Like if Mbappe scores a goal, the fans have a chant for Mbappe, and they don't do it prompted by the guy in the booth.
Have you been to a lot of Sounder games?
I've been to several.
You have, okay.
I haven't been to like a bunch.
Maybe you need to get a flag or go to a Sounder game.
I might try.
There's a lot of things going on in the stands that even.
I went to the Copa de Oro last year, which was the precursor to the World Cup, and it was fun.
Yeah, when you go and you sit with somebody that knows soccer and they can explain the culture and everything that's going on, I think it's pretty fun.
So I'm rooting for Spain. I wouldn't be disappointed if it's Argentina and Messi goes back to back and like sort of does a mic drop on his way. It wouldn't surprise me as well as if he came back and was a bench player in the next World Cup.
Here's what I don't get: with all the worldwide fame, why don't these guys make more money? I looked at the top 10 players.
What do they make? Is it just salary or plus endorsements?
Both.
Okay. I don't know who the top 10
the number one player, and you mentioned, let's see, is it Ronaldo?
Cristiano Ronaldo?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, he
300 million.
Okay.
And then after that, it's, do you say Messi?
Messi?
Yeah,
Messi,
190 million.
Probably Mbappe.
And then by the time you get to the 10th guy, they're under contract for like 10 million, and then it just falls off a cliff. So baseball, I mean, you look at Alex Rodriguez, when he left here to go play in Texas, he signed a bigger deal 25, 30 years ago to go play in Texas. I think that was a $300 million deal.
In total.
And I'm talking about I'm talking about
Cristiano Ronaldo makes $300 million per year.
No, I don't think that's right. I don't think it's
it's lifetime.
I think it's under the current contract. Anyway, it just seems like baseball guys who nobody is watching, and that was the gist of this article that I was reading as well. You would think that with all the worldwide eyeballs, that the players would get paid more. Even when
there's so many teams though.
Even when I look at the Sounders in the MLS, I just thought those guys would get paid more money, and they don't. They fill the stands, but a lot of other MLS teams don't. So.
Yeah, I mean, I think part of it is the way it's structured. So in the threat of relegation, so like it's just a different. You're right though. There's could be more payment, but yeah.
I mean, if you're a 39-year-old left tackle in the NFL named Trent Williams and you don't even practice and you just show up and just shuffle your feet, you can make $100 million in the NFL at that age, which is really incredible to me.
Over lifetime, over the whole contract.
No, not Trent Williams, not lifetime. No, like his next contract with the San Francisco 49ers. For that contract. That's
correct.
Not lifetime. He's
not per year.
He's made hundreds of millions of dollars just showing up to be the left tackle. So.
Ron and Don's Top 5 Back 5.
Number 4.
All right, seems like Waymo is having Waymo problems. What's going on here? It seems like they're turning kids in that are drinking in the car.
This was a great story.
Can a kid not get in the car and have a few beers? They're not driving. Waymo's driving, right?
So those two 15-year-olds got hired a Waymo. They were drunk, evidently, and they opened up the windows to the Waymo, and they had these, what are they called? It's like a air pistol with the little exploding, like when you go into a laser tag, and they have those little exploding plastic pellets in there, the paintballs. And so they had these paintball guns inside, and they would open up the window. They're drunk, and they're asking Waymo to take them somewhere. They're leaning out the window of the Waymo, and they're shooting their paintball guns out the window. So Waymo has cameras inside and outside the vehicle. They sensed what's going on, and evidently the HQ can tap into that car on this alert. So the car itself autonomously sends out an alert. Hey, people are hanging out the window. There seems to be this behavior going on that's not safe. And so a human being intervenes, looks at the footage, and is like, oh, these kids are probably drunk and doing illegal stuff. So the override happens to instruct the Waymo to calmly and safely transport these children to the nearest police station. The human being back at HQ calls the police station and informs them, hey, this is Waymo HQ, a vehicle is about to arrive in your parking lot with 2 teenagers. We'll send you the video footage or whatever they said. They've been shooting this weapon out the window, and we think they're intoxicated. And so when they got there, they opened the door, surrounded by cops, and they were arrested.
Yeah. The bummer part of the story is they did the right thing. As a parent, you always say, hey, if you get yourself in trouble, the most important thing is don't drink and drive. But they didn't drink and drive.
They were shooting a weapon out of the window of the car.
It's not like it's a 30-06 and they're out looking for an elk. Come on.
Dude, if you're in Oakland and you have what looks like a weapon out of a car, you're going to come home dead.
What did you do when you were 15?
Not shoot weapons out of a car.
I did things that were worse, I think.
I did things that were worse, too.
We used to like to take a tether ball and put it on an elastic cord, and then we would dress it up as a ghost, and then when you would come over for Halloween, we'd have the scary music playing and all that on the 8-track, and then we'd pull the tether ball all the way across the house, and then my brother would either pull it or I would, and then you give the signal, and right as the trick-or-treaters are coming out, that tether ball comes down and goes. You're hoping it doesn't hit one of the trick-or-treaters.
That's not worse than shooting a weapon out of a Waymo.
This is where it's worse, because then what we did is we made a dummy, and the tether ball is the head, and then we tied a rope across, and then right where I lived on Camino de la Sierra in Albuquerque, we would wait for the car to crest the hill, and then we would have a dead body out in the middle of the street that they would hit. But then we would pull the cord and the dead body would disappear.
That's worse.
And we're sitting over in the bushes.
That's comparable.
And people get out of the car and they're like, what the? They knew that they hit something. They don't know whether to stick around, call the police, but they know they hit a human being. And it feels like they hit a human being and maybe the human being ran off. So it's and some people would just drive on.
That's pretty bad.
That's right up there.
That is right up there.
Or
continue telling the bad stuff you've done through your life. This is fun. Ladies and gentlemen, Don O'Neill's top 10 bad things he's done in his life.
Me and Tim Nolan, you're supposed to do dog do in the bag, and I've shared this before. We couldn't find any dog do, so we did our own. Yes, Matt.
Yeah, you can't get a Waymo if you're under 18.
Well, these kids did.
Yeah, well, that might be part of the question.
Oh. Matt's always checking the rules. Anyway, we did light the bag on fire with human stuff inside, and the bag wouldn't light, and the bag wouldn't light, and the bag wouldn't light. So I went in the backyard where our old Weber was, and there was some lighting fluid there, and we got that fire going.
So you burned a house down.
Well, we got to go. We did light the porch on fire, so there were lights and sirens. We can leave.
Yeah, you were the worst 15-year-old in the world.
Hey, man, it was fun.
Ron and Don's Top 5 Back 5.
Number 5.
Anyway, I still tell all the kids out there, don't drink and drive. So I congratulate those guys. What did you make of the tour? It seems like, and I know you're following the tour, it seems like with global warming, the streets, the pavement is just moving to mush. A lot of the riders this year are crashing, and on some of the course, they've whitewashed the course, thinking that it will. And I don't know how whitewashing the course improves the pavement, so you're not supposed to crash so much. But I was looking. We have another story we're going to talk about later about how long the Earth is actually going to be around before it gets sucked in by a white dwarf star.
Tour de France has an issue with pavement. So what happened? What had happened was
what it is.
So what they do is immediately when this tour is over, like the next day, the brass goes out and they start to chart the route for the following year.
And they wear actual brass.
Yes. Yeah. And so, like, for instance...
And they're like, hey, are you the brass? And they're like, how did you know?
For this year, things started, the Tour de France started off in Barcelona and did a couple of stages in Spain, and then it jumped over into France.
Was the brass there for that?
The brass was there for that.
Brass was there.
So they will scout the route, and then you go to these villages and municipalities, and you say, hey... We would like to bring the Tour de France to your area. It's going to bring a huge amount of income in terms of tourism. But what we need you to do is to spruce up this road. Here's the actual road. It's going to be 160 kilometers this day, and there's going to be all kinds of RVs and chase vehicles and riders. And so one of the things that these people will do, or the towns and municipalities, is they will repave that road. They'll repave the section of the race route for the tour. And so what they find is that this newer asphalt is stickier. The global temperatures are hotter. And so what one engineer thought of is, why don't we take this white lime wash, spray it over the black brand new asphalt, and therefore it's going to absorb less heat. It's not going to be a black top anymore. It's going to kind of be this grayish white top. So therefore the temperature will not get as hot. Instead of putting concrete in, if you put concrete in, you wouldn't have this problem, but it's very, very expensive. And so what is happening is that that's backfiring in that it gets kind of clumpy. Some of the riders hit these weird spots and undulations in this material, especially on descents, where they can go upwards of 70, 80, 90 miles an hour. Yeah. And so we've had a couple of crashes. But if you're into sport, you need to jump in and watch the genius of Tadej Pogačar right now. This is a rider. We're at stage 10
and
last night. Tadej, I think, is 28 or 29. He's won the Tour 4 times. And he currently is up by over 3 minutes to Jonas Vingegaard, who won twice in the past 6 years. This explained it. You probably know this, and I don't know how great of a deal this is or what the analog is. Tadej talked about in this interview his training regimen. He can pull 320 to 350 watts on his bicycle for 5 hours nonstop.
Wow.
And so they compared it to, like, if I went on a bicycle, I probably couldn't even reach 350. And if I could, maybe I could sustain that wattage for 5 seconds, 10 seconds. Like, how elite. Have you ever heard of such a thing, I guess? And you being a spin instructor, you probably understand what 300 watts is. Like, how does that blow your mind?
It blows my mind. Yeah, that totally blows my mind. And I would imagine if you looked at his lungs, he must have Lance Armstrong lungs, right? Because it all comes down to your VO2 max, especially if you're not doping.
So like pulling 300 watts on a bicycle is, how difficult is that?
That would be...
Like, that's turning the knob all the way down, right? On your spin bike or on the exercise machine?
That would be you and I flying up Mount Constitution, but with a huge battery on our bike. With a huge battery.
Like going like...
And he wouldn't have a battery. His battery are his legs and his lungs.
On flat ground, 300 watts is probably a bicycle moving 50 miles an hour, I would say. Or maybe 40 miles an hour.
Well, it depends on who's.
But anyway,
depends on who you're drafting.
He said between 4 and 5 hours, he will pull over 300 and consecutively. Yeah, 300 to 300.
Think about this: most people, if they can, let's say you could get up to 27 miles an hour on a bike, even with a little hill going down. If you could get up to 27, these guys are going 27 up a hill,
right,
and up a mountain.
So just tune in and see Tadej, because when he puts the hammer down, no one can stay with him. Yesterday they had 4 Category 1 climbs on this route on stage 10, and he just dusted at like the 10-kilometer mark. He's like, I'm out, and he just took off the front, and no one could catch him. And Jonas and his team were desperately trying to get on his wheel, and they had multiple team members couldn't hang with him solo uphill. It's remarkable.
Yeah. All right, final story tonight.
I thought that was 5. Or was that 4?
I think this is 5, yeah.
Ron and Don's top 5 at 5.
Is
Number 5.
I don't remember. I thought that was 5. Seems like 6.
Well,
we did the Tour de France. We did the Seahawks. We did the World Cup. We did Lindsay and Waymo.
Yeah, we'll see you on the other side of this.
Hey, it's Ron and Don here with our brand new sponsor. It's a mortgage broker, teamlisa.com, teamlisa.com. That's Lysa, teamlisa.com. Lisa, we just did a deal for Dave and Mandy. They needed to buy a new house because they're downsizing. The kids are out before they sold their house they're currently in. How does that work?
There's lots of different ways to do that. I think most people think of a traditional bridge loan, but there's actually a new program called Departing Residence, which can actually be cheaper and quite a bit faster than a bridge loan.
So I know with Dave and Mandy, we did all of this in, it seems like it was under a month.
Absolutely. We can do it in 14 days.
And is it more or less expensive than the traditional bridge loan?
Much less expensive.
Okay, so if you're in that situation where you're like, hey, the kids are gone, we need to downsize. Or, hey, we're having a new kid and we need to upsize, but I don't want to sell this place before we buy, go to teamlisa.com right now. Start the conversation with Lisa and her team. They are the Ron and Don official mortgage brokers right now. So it's teamlisa.com. That's LYSA, teamlisa.com.
If you have a friend that is ready to start their real estate journey, send them to ronanddonsitdown.com.
All right, you guys, welcome back to the Ron and Don Show. Don't forget, as you heard, if you need us, ronanddonsitdown.com. We're happy to sit down with you today. And also, for all your mortgage needs, just get in touch with Team Lisa.
With a Y.
Team Lisa with a Y.com, and she can help you out. And those guys are always standing by, even on the weekends and the evening. Team Lisa with a Y. Yeah. What is coming up in the real estate only show right after this show, Ron?
Market Watch did a big article that basically says the sky is falling in Seattle, and let me get the quote right. Home prices are falling faster in Seattle than all other big cities. And so we always interact with people. We're one of the most literate markets in America. And so people read this stuff. And I wanted to do a deeper dive on what that actually means, because these articles typically are written by someone that goes and finds a study. They're not an economist, they're a journalist. And so they take these numbers, they format it, and then a headline writer tries to write a headline that's going to get a lot of clicks. And so when you write a doomsday headline, it gets a lot of clicks. So I did a deep dive on this.
One of the articles that I read was actually, they're quoting some guy, and we'll just call him Al. And he used to work the front desk at Windermere. So they called him up to see what he was thinking. Or our friend Kim, who still works at Windermere, they'll call her up to kind of see what she's thinking. And then that becomes what's happening in Seattle. And those are two real estate agents. Kim does not come off the hill. She sells on Queen Anne, then that's it. Al, I think, just sells whatever he can because he's newer to real estate. But I would bet he does 5 to 6 deals a year. And yet... they'll say we called Redfin or we called one of the local agents, and this is what we're finding out. And what you're going to find out here in Seattle, when we talk about it all the time, is the market is very, very different because we are, 300 really cool neighborhoods that are connected by waterways and bridges and buses and trains and boats. And it acts very differently depending on the pressure that it's feeling, right? So I was over on the east side today, and I drove by. If you ever get a chance to drive by Google over there, just look at the parking lot of the cars that are over at Google. Everyone is doing just fine. That is working for Google.
Yeah.
I saw I don't even know what it is. I saw a car in there. It was very purpley. A guy went blazing by me, and then I saw him.
I know that purple car is. It was at the auto show I went to this weekend.
Was it?
That's the new Lamborghini SUV.
Oh, my gosh.
I don't like it. I didn't like it at all, but it's a very distinct purple color.
Yeah.
I went to Chateau Ste. Michelle. They had the big auto show. There were hundreds of millions of dollars of cars there, and that one was one of them.
Yeah, and there's one of those over at Google.
Yeah. It's nice. It's not my kind of car.
Yeah,
but
and we get to look sometimes at people's bank accounts when somebody is buying or purchasing a property. And the thing that we have here in Seattle is we have lots of people with lots of education, with lots of money, and it's very young and youthful here, and people can buy things with cash. They can backstop it with cash.
So
they
I
don't
had
have to
some
finance
interesting
it.
discoveries when I looked under the hood on this Market Watch article
All
for
right.
Seattle specifically.
So we'll be talking about that.
That's coming up on the real estate only episode.
All right, don't go anywhere. We'll see you on the other side of this.
Thanks for being a part of the Ron and Don Nation. Subscribe to the Nation News at ronanddonsitdown.com. A behind-the-scenes look at everything Ron and Don.
All right, you guys, welcome back to the Ron and Don Show. Before we get out of here, we have finally found out And I remember being in astronomy when I was like in 6th grade, and I took this refrigerator box and I turned it sideways and I painted it black inside. And then I took all these stars. Remember when you used to get gold stars on your paper? So I got a bunch of those. I stuck the stars inside. And then I started hanging the planets in there.
To scale.
It's very difficult to do.
Yeah.
And
difficult to transport that.
well, and some of the planets were too heavy, and it started caving the box in.
Yeah, I bet you used a bowling ball for Saturn.
Why wouldn't I? So then I had to come up with a way to kind of keep the integrity of the box going, which then became a science project unto itself.
How'd you do in that science fair?
I did fantastic.
Good.
Because my friend Mike, who worked over in shop, he knew how to build things, so he came over and kind of bailed me out, and we had to make a frame for it, and we put it back together. But I also remember back then just the sadness of learning that the sun is a star, and I think we call it a white dwarf star, and someday the sun is going to come calling for the solar system that we're in, and it's going to chew it up and spit it out. The article that I was reading, though, that talked about how much time we have left, it didn't talk about the moon, and it didn't talk about Mars and whether Mars has more time left than we do. And my feeling is, especially when you look at global warming. Which,
By the way, the end date is July 16th, 3015.
Yeah, and again, they don't know. They're like, man, maybe 1.5 billion years.
It's a ways off.
Yeah, but does that mean by this time we've jumped over on Mars? And then we're okay.
No, I don't
and the
think
human race is okay on Mars.
The human race is going to be long gone pecan by then.
That's right.
Yeah, there's no way. The human race is not going to last another 5,000 years.
You don't think?
No.
Oh, really?
We're going to have global warming.
Oh, wow.
We're not doing anything about climate change. Like, it's going to be gone pecan. There's no way. AI, please. If we last another 5,000 years, I'd be surprised.
How's it going to go? Like, how's it going to end?
It's going to end with not having any oxygen. There's going to be the temperatures are going to continue to rise. Floods, mayhem, disease, AI domination, all the locusts. We've proven to be a stupid species.
Wow.
We're a brilliant species, but then we're stupid.
Yeah. It is alarming when I went to Iceland, and Iceland will not be Iceland in probably 80 years.
Yeah.
There'll be no ice in Iceland.
That's why I'm glad I never had kids, because I don't have to feel guilty about just what's going to happen to the next generation.
And then when you fly from Iceland back to the States, you're looking down, and you see a lot of icebergs down there, and you see a lot of snow down there, and you're like, this is all going to be gone, and New Orleans will no longer be with us because it will be fully flooded.
Lifetime.
And Miami and a lot of other coastal cities will be unlivable. Right?
That's why enjoy your life today.
Man, okay.
That's my message. Enjoy your life today.
And get out and buy some real estate.
Yeah, in 1.5 billion years, we're going to be a gone planet anyways.
Yeah. Try to. You can't take it with you.
They always said in broadcast school, end your episode on a high note.
That's what they said. Yeah. Hey, you guys! Thanks for listening to this episode of the Ron and Don Show. Sorry we're on the quick today, but we got a soccer game.
Football match.
Actually, we got to go take a road test with someone that lives in my family.
Nice.
We've been doing a lot of parallel parking. We're going to see if it pays off today at our road test. So this will decide.
What I hear is helpful is if the dad is in the back seat going, "Oh, brake, whoa, hey, turn, slow down."
Well, he wants to use the family car to do this, so we got to go clean it up before we do this to go do the road testing. And I have to say, he has to pass because I didn't realize we've had his permit for a year. I've been driving with terror for a year, especially on the way to school when he drives me to school in the morning.
Is there a deadline or something?
Oh my God! It's your permit's only good for a year, and then you got to get a new permit.
No pressure.
Yeah, so we'll.
Way to go, Dad! Way to read the fine print.
I have not been lollygagging. You have to. Yeah, I've not been lollygagging. I've been doing my job, but they say, hey, when he's ready to go and let the bird fly and all that, it's still terrorizing.
Keep the bird in the cage, and we're all going to die in 1.5 billion years.
There you go.
See you next time.
That's the end of the show. Hey, you guys, thanks for listening to this episode of the Ron and Don Show. Don't forget, if you need us, ronanddonsitdown.com. And also for all your mortgage needs, just go to Team Lisa. With a Y.com. All right. Thanks to Matt for helping to produce. Find us on social medias. He's Ron Upshaw. I'm Don O'Neill. Till next time, keep your head up and your shoulders back. And don't forget that you've been listening to the Ron and Don Show only on the Ron and Don Radio Network.
Thanks for listening to the Ron and Don Show. Please hit subscribe.